John Coltrane was the person who first, well, as far as I know, I mean,
Right, exactly.
say factually, but in my understanding of history, was the first person that really delved into that book. And you know what that is? It's like that book is a compendium of every possible permutation a human being
Irritation, right.
with 12 notes. And so it's really a clinical exercise. Now, if a musician wants to use it, you have to be like John Coltrane. So it's as if somebody threw a bale, not a bale of hay, a barn full of hay in front of you and said, if you crawl around in there for a while, you'll find a gold nugget, a diamond ring,
Right.
you know, but you have to go through that thing and you play this one, this one, this one. It's shit. I have no use for it, blah, blah. All of a sudden, boom, you find a very special thing. And that book was very valuable to me
And then you have to find the context. How do I take this and make
You're
music with it?
absolutely right. But you know what that is? That good musicians, excellent musicians have a gift for that. So to reference Coltrane again, let's just imagine for a minute that he listened to the naysayers when he said, I like the sound of music. I like that tune, My Favorite Things, that Julie Andrews sings about raindrops and roses. I'm sure a lot of the cats were saying, what the hell's wrong with you? That's
I got your mind. That's
that's some corny crap. And he said, yeah, but I can hear it outside of the context within which it was originally presented. And he framed it with that modal vamping hypnotic style. That's revolutionary what he came up with.
Sure.
Right? There had never been anything done like that. A major tonality and then occasionally a minor tonality and just a hypnotic vamp where the musicians are allowed to express themselves in really sort of babyish, natural ways. I mean, there's nothing going on in there that's rocket science. It's just beautiful music. So it takes a very perceptive person to separate the chaff from the grain and to find the golden nuggets. So that's what we really need to do.
Right, and audiences who listened to it understood it. It became one of his biggest sellers.
Well, what I heard, again, this is just what I heard, can't prove it. He made $1 million on that tune alone.
Whoa.
And he wanted to hit again like that. Even John Coltrane, with his high standards, he liked to have a hit too. So he tried to do it again. He tried to do Chim Chim Cheree from Mary Poppins. That one, that one just kind of fell on deaf ears. So he said, okay, later for that.
One thing I believe also is that I believe that good musicians and good ensembles are like, they're telepathic. They're very telepathic and sensitive. Sometimes musicians will just hit a chord or a passage. No one discusses. It's like, we all just went there because you were locked into this spiritual, mental vortex that's unexplainable.
Okay, along those lines, I have to go to the keyboard. I would like to show you something.
Sure.
Because we're talking about that recording. Let me see if I can pull this off. So I had the great privilege, incredible gratitude to have toured with McCoy Tyner a number of times. And he was such I use this term, it's not used this way anymore, a truly decent human being, meaning, not as my father would say. Now, if you say you're a truly decent human being, people say, I'm offended. I thought I was awesome. No, decency. Like, anyway, he was so kind and humble. And this is amazing. I used to watch his hands. I would reluctantly peer over his shoulder during sound check, and sometimes he'd be looking back like, what the hell is that? He played chord voicings that were exactly the same as most people that I had played with up until then. But he had such a, he was so present in the music. Anything he played was as if it was an absolute gift from heaven and that he had created it, even though it was simple. So on that tune, oh, wait, I thought I turned on the keyboard. Crap. I got to show you this. This is funny.
No, it's interesting.
Not funny. This is
some voice leading stuff.
This is revelatory. So we have this vamp going. The only thing he plays in his left hand, 99.99% of the time over the minor vamp is this. He's just playing a G major triad and an A major triad. And here, he goes. Okay, so then when it gets to the major, it's just this triad and that triad. And he went this far and made the greatest mistake of all time, but he didn't ask for another take. Here it comes. He goes, if you listen to the recording, that's a mistake, but he didn't say, I want another take. He went,
Wow.
but he's playing, it's like looking at a leaf or a flower. I mean,
Right.
what are you going to add to it or take away from it that could possibly improve it? He knew that nothing, like these
Right.
very pure sounds, when he connected to them, were absolutely gorgeous. Oops.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock has a story when he was playing with Miles Davis. He hit a chord, he said, for some reason that was so wrong. He thought that Miles was going to scold him. He said Miles didn't. He just made it right.
Yeah.
And after the set, he thought Miles was going to scold him after the set. Like, no, it was a mistake, but it was an interesting one. So sometimes you can take notes, as you know, that are not really diatonically in a chord or scale. As long as you can resolve it right, you can make people believe that you intended that all along.
That's right. Well, you got to make yourself. Well, you don't have to make yourself believe it. You just have to live your life in a very Buddhist kind of philosophy, or it could be any religion. It's not necessarily Buddhist. It could even be Christian. You don't have to apologize for your sins. You make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You are forgiven already. What God, what the universe wants you to do is move on. You miss the subway train. Okay, there's another one coming in 3 minutes. Don't
Okay.
temper tantrum and
Right.
like a subway canal rage and knife your neighbor. Settle down, use that time to think and come up with something better. Make something out of everything. So Herbie went beyond that. He said oftentimes he would just lay his hands on the keyboard. Whatever came out, that was the beginning of an improvisation.
Hmm.
Whatever came out, he would fix it.
Whoa. Now, would you say at this point in your career, you probably played every possible combination of changes that can be thrown upon a musician?
I don't know.
Do you have any fear? Like if someone say, "Hey, we're gonna play Countdown or Giant Steps," to you it's like, whatever. Just tell me the
Uh,
key.
you know what, Clyde? I think if anybody said that playing Countdown or Giant Steps, especially if somebody called it in a different key or something like, and they had no fear, you know what the equivalent of that would be? Somebody says, okay, you got a week to train and you really got to fight George Foreman tomorrow. If
Oh,
you say you're not afraid of that, you're a liar.
right.
And fear is good because fear when we participate in any human endeavor as if our life depended on it, we tend to make better choices. Problem is, we don't actually care about things that we're doing. Therefore, we screw up the easiest things in life. I always tell my students, you wouldn't blindfold yourself and run across the Cross Bronx Expressway at 5
No,
a.m., would you? Would you
no.
take that chance? And they say, no, I'd get run over. I'd say, damn right. So why are you hoping for the best and fingering notes and blowing when you don't hear anything and you don't know what to do? Take a pause for a moment. The world didn't end. And if you don't play a wrong note, nobody can accuse you of having played badly. I just didn't play,
Right.
right? If I play a bunch of great notes, okay. Yeah, he played a bunch of great notes. If he plays some shitty notes, well, those notes were shitty. If you didn't know what to do, don't do it. I wouldn't talk to Einstein. I wouldn't have an argument with him about theory of relativity. Why would I? I have nothing to say. So if I don't know what to say, shut up. And if you,
Right.
if you know what to say, contribute.
Elder Cats used to tell me, if you don't C sharp, you'll B flat. So,
But you know
uh,
what? That's a play on words. But for saxophonists, this is factually true, nuts and bolts sense. On saxophone, you are either a little bit sharp or you're out of tune.
hmm,
Now check that out. If you play right in tune on the saxophone, you sound boring, little. flat, a little flatlining. If you play absolutely flat, well, then you're
Now, were you an advocate? Did you feel good or moved at all by Ornette Coleman and his harmonic concept, or did you
I
find that a little
think,
bit?
I mean, I'm moved. I haven't pursued it with like an extreme dedication. I have tremendous respect for it. Anybody that hears Ornette Coleman play and wants to say he's a charlatan or he's bullshitting is just not even connected to any kind of spiritual feeling about human beings and what they're
Right,
capable of doing. He is so invested in it, and there's so much humanity, good and bad, right?
yes,
Good warts and all in everything. So I consider that an achievement on every level. Everything he played is a massive achievement, and
sure,
all of the great jazz musicians that were around him, even the most straight ahead ones, had respect for Ornette. I've never
okay,
heard anybody say that he's a piece of crap. Even Jackie McLean went a little bit dabbled and dipped into more
sure,
avant-garde concepts or more free jazz, and he said he had a tremendous amount of respect for Ornette, but he wasn't going to go that far.
right.
But
Like Lisa Taylor, a lot of people are like, now, never mind. But
oh
see,
my
that's
God.
but that's like that's why you're so different. You play traditional jazz, bebop, whatever you want to call it, and you make it so you always make jazz sound so sweet that
That's because I'm a nice
people just love
guy.
it, and they're emotionally touched because they can hear the colors and inflections you're placing on top of melodies that they already know.
Well, that's a real compliment, then, and I'll take it. I often say this, but I'm not the only one that says it. Don't take my word for it. So Plato, for instance, says of all of the art forms, music wins because it has the capacity and the ability, and by its very nature, can describe and express things that cannot be verbalized. They can't be drawn. They can't be represented in any other medium.
Right,
And you look at, well, I go back to Einstein. What did he do? He got tired of sitting around going through equations. He just sit by the lake and try to play his violin. And why
right,
all these jocks like want to play music? I mean, music is anybody who says they don't like music, I really
right. I stay away from them.
I am so wary of
Right.
those people. Uh, I don't like to use this kind of stuff, but if there is good and evil in the world, or if you want to say there's a devil, I almost think they're possessed by the devil. I mean, how can you say that? That's a
Exactly.
block. I get very frightened by that.
Yeah. One thing I also have mentioned to people, let me know what you think about this. I also say that out of all the performing arts, music is the only performing art that doesn't require vision to enjoy it. Someone blind can be deeply touched by music as someone with vision. But if
You're
you're talking
correct.
about sports, basketball, ballet, theater, it requires vision for a person to really get the deepest essence. But music, not so. Yeah.
I would agree. Even Ray Charles could see that.
Hey, George Shearing, Stevie Wonder,
Right. You know, I will admit to
Diane
something.
Shore.
I will admit to something. I went to some ballet performances in over the course of the last 3 years. I I actually just started crying right away because that was the first time I saw. Well, I'm seeing something that's physically beautiful. It's also physically strenuous. It's super athletic. I mean, these people are just space alien athletes, and they're moving their bodies to music, and the music was beautiful. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a little bit nervous about picking the best art form. I mean, ballet, that's on its way out now because nobody wants to say that a 300-pound tub chick can't be the lead ballerina. Well, too bad. I mean, that's just that's the way it goes. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that there's something going on in there too that's
And
exquisite.
so now, we're really excited because we have you coming to perform with your quartet at Flushing Town Hall on November 22nd. Uh, is it going to be your usual rhythm section or is there anything different this time?
Well, since Harold's passing, I can't even say that there's a usual rhythm section for me. So I just called some people that I really like playing with
Right.
and
Okay, cool.
people that enjoy playing with one another. So I know I'm getting a good mix.
Oh, yeah.
David Williams on bass. That's creme de la. What can you say? It's just awesome. And Neil Smith is a wonderful drummer, and he has a lot of experience with David and also with the pianist Rick Germanson, who is outstanding. I tend to put a premium on people that are really interactive and great accompanists. He's a great soloist too, but his gift is his ears and the way he interacts with the other rhythm section
Well,
members.
I would say for you, you would have to have a great rhythm section in order to contain and support what you do. Without a great rhythm section, you couldn't do what you do.
Well, the only way
It's
to,
got to be strong,
you know
you
what,
know?
Clyde? The only way to do that is to be Sonny Stitt. Sonny Stitt had to play with raggedy ass rhythm sections, traveling around all the time, and he found a way to hypnotize himself and literally ignore people and just flatten them and steamroll them. That's a gift in and of itself. I'm a little less authoritarian than him, and I do prefer to have a good rhythm section. Yeah.
But you are in the firmament of jazz history. It's just a matter of time. I mean, you play as well as anybody I could ever hear. But I'm quite certain at some point you're going to be given an NEA Jazz Master endowment.
Oh my goodness.
It's
Well, you know what?
just a matter of time.
I'm not holding my breath, and I could spend that money in like an hour at Empire Casino.
Right,
So
to be
it doesn't
gone.
matter.
Now, would you say Dexter Gordon or Sonny Stitt was an influence of yours at all, or Hank Mobley,
Yeah, keep going.
David Fathead Newman?
Keep going. I mean, I love those guys so much. I could hear three notes, even if I
You know
didn't
who it is
know the
immediately.
recording you're playing. I know it's them. I am very proud of my iconic musical giants, the heroes of mine. I really wear them on my sleeves. Sometimes some people will come to me and say, "I hope you're not offended, but you sounded like Hank Mobley on that." I'll say, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, I'm not a faker. I want my influences to be very transparent. And if I'm an amalgamation of a bunch of them, okay, good, but they're all in there. And you know, if I have seen any further than anyone, it's because they've sat on their shoulders. It has nothing to do, it's a continuum. It has nothing to do with me being so special. It's with me having respect for greatness and then incorporating it. And if somebody thinks that I have a unique voice or a unique sound, I say thank you. But I could never be who I am without them. Without them, no me. No
Exactly.
way. I mean,
Right.
it's impossible.
Now, I saw you also playing with the Kurt Rosenwinkel Quartet,
Uh-huh.
and it seemed like Kurt was using some kind of MIDI device on his guitar because it sounded different. Are you an advocate at all of MIDI? Because, like Michael Brecker had an Eway. Miles Davis was playing with a MIDI mouthpiece, but you're more of a purist in a sense, right?
You might be surprised. I would what's the right way to say it? I wouldn't hesitate to participate in a performance that utilized those kinds of things. I'm not out looking to initiate,
Right.
but I would love to, and maybe one day I will go out of my way to initiate it. Uh, I'm not a jazz snob. I love pop music and classical music. If I got an offer to play sax solos two a night with Stevie Wonder or Bruno Mars, I would eat that up so freaking fast you
Whoa.
can't believe it. Uh, and as far as musicians, especially guitarists that use a wealth of effects, to me, it's just it's an enhancement to what they already have. But if they don't already have what they have, it's nothing.
Right.
It's like a rotten piece of meat with good seasoning. You're not gonna like it anyway.
No, that's
But
right.
I mean, Kurt
Right.
is he's a master musician.
Oh no,
And
he's a wonderful technician, facility,
everything.
everything.
And he's
So what so
melodic
so
and
so
he's
technology is just expanding and enhancing the language that he already plays, which is beautiful.
that's right. And going back to Herbie Hancock, when people were sort of giving him some pushback. Anytime a person in life starts to get to a higher level, new levels bring new devils. If you're starting to do something new, you can be sure that 90% of people are either going to ignore you or out and out
Right.
attack. So he's getting attacked because he's using synthesizers. And he said, look, everybody, yes, it's a machine and it's only a machine, but if I can use it for my artistic expression, that's okay. You need to deal with it. I mean, seriously, people need to get
Yeah.
out there.
Audiences like to freeze artists, like when Miles Davis did Bitches Brew.
It's
Like, oh my
labels.
God,
It's
it's
just,
sacrilegious. Now you're using electric bass, electric instruments. Well, Miles said, listen, I've done it all. I'm in the history of jazz forever. I want to try to expand and do something different.
well,
So,
and Miles, I mean, I never met the man. I only can go on what people, like Jimmy Cobb and George Coleman said about him. He had this uh, really, I don't know if it was unhealthy, or it was healthy, but really an obsession with never doing what he just did ever. He just wanted to
uh,
go on and on and on. And you see this with a lot of the titans of jazz music, and this is precisely why you'll find people saying, "Well, I like Sonny Rollins, but only in the '50s up until '61, and then I don't like him. Why did he change? Or why did Coltrane change?" These people are so driven. I mean, it
yeah,
might be to a
sure.
detrimental effect. I don't know. Who are we to judge? But they are really on a search, and just let them go. Let them go if they want to go. Who cares?
Right. Did you enjoy A Love Supreme when Coltrane?
Oh, come on. I mean, I can't even listen to it because it's so powerful. You want to see a grown man cry, especially if I'm reading his poem at the end. That's pain. It is so. It's like a beautiful open wound, and it affects me so deeply. Uh, yeah, just talking about it's about to make me cry.
Sure, sure.
I had to give a master class on that at Brooklyn College. They called me and said, "Do you want to speak about a love supreme?" And I said, are you sure that you want me to speak about it? Because
Yes.
I'm going to tell what, as far as I know, is the truth about it. And the evidence is there. I don't want to offend people. And they said, no, come in and say what you said. So I came in and I said, well, at this point in John Coltrane's life, he had a spiritual awakening, and this entire album is dedicated to Jesus Christ. Don't take my word for it. Just I'll give you the song titles and what they mean with biblical references, and then his psalm at the end, like
Yeah.
the Psalms in the Bible. It's a
Yes.
direct prayer with syllables to God. Uh, and I'm not saying that you have to like it. I'm not saying I like it, therefore you have to like it. That's just what it is, everybody. I mean, you
Yes.
gotta face facts. Now, if
Yes.
I made a record today saying uh, Eric's Eric's love for Jesus, I think I would probably get smashed. So I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad people appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
really, that's like the worst thing that people can. It's unfortunate. I'd be better off if I said, uh, I shouldn't even get into this, but if I said I want to praise a Shinto spirit force donkey, people would say, "Whoa, Jazz Master Award." But if I said I want to praise Jesus Christ, I'd be vilified. I'd be called an evangelical. Hard to be honest. So God bless John Coltrane for being
Sure.
absolutely honest at that point in his life. He may have moved on to something else. Can't say for sure, but that's what that record is all about. Nothing else.
Right. Right. I also noticed you were playing with Steve Davis and Antonio Hart.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
Antonio Hart is the now conductor of the Queen's Jazz Orchestra, which we formulated at Flushing Town Hall.
I did not
Jimmy
know
Heath,
that.
yeah,
I
Jimmy Heath originally was the original conductor when the orchestra was inaugurated on May 16th in 2008. But when Jimmy Heath passed on in 2020, January 19th, Antonio Hart now takes it over. He conducts the orchestra, and he has all of Jimmy Heath's music as well. And
yeah.
Mona and Roz Heath bequeath to Antonio Hart one of Jimmy's most prized tenor saxophones, gave it to him in a ceremony, which
Whoa.
brought tears to his eyes. And so,
Well, I don't
yeah,
blame him.
oh yeah. And
That's
so Flushing Town Hall, we have the Queen's Jazz Orchestra performing on June 20th. It's called, the concert is entitled Singing and Swinging, featuring the great vocalist Antoinette Montague.
oh,
That's on June
cool.
20th, yeah.
Wow.
But for you, your concert's coming up pretty quick on November 22nd. What kind of shows are going to be? Is it going to be a combination of your own original compositions or just straight ahead jazz class?
I would say the former, but more of the latter. Well, no, it'll be a combination, but let's just put it this way. I have no idea what it's going to be, but it's going to
Right.
be.
And you don't have to. You can create it like Keith Jarrett in the moment, because whatever it's going to be, I know it's going to be over the top because you do nothing less than over the top.
The most I usually do before I play is make people aware of maybe one or if it's not my quartet, if I was with Harold, different story, totally different. But this is put together for this particular engagement, so they'll be aware of one or two things that I may want to do. But really, after the first number, it's all about just feeling how they feel about what we just did, what's appropriate to play next, what's a different groove, how does the audience react. I don't enjoy being bound up and having a battle plan per se. I mean, the battle
Right.
plan is to play good music and have
Right.
a varied performance with something for everybody that's memorable. But other than that, I have no idea.
Now, how can people get your book? If we want to get your book to study, can we get it online? Or do we go? Is there an address?
There's a saxophone website, educational and gear website called bettersax.com.
Okay.
Bettersax.com. And the three educational publications that I've put out in recent years are all available there.
Okay.
And that's a great resource. That's a great resource website for any saxophonist anywhere, without a doubt.
But can someone who plays piano or bass or guitar also benefit from having that book?
Oh, absolutely. It just
Okay.
so happens that because of my association with Jay Metcalf, who founded the site, and he's a saxophonist, as a matter of fact, and the site's called Better Sax. That's why I said it's a great site for saxophonists. But the books that I wrote are really they're absolutely suitable for any instrument or any
Okay.
vocalist. It's just harmonic and melodic. I don't. It's not. They're not patterns. They're concepts.
Concepts.
When you work them through the keys, they yield dividends because they're all composed of, or they all comprise a number of like jazz language based nuts and bolts stuff that can come out in your playing in all kinds of different situations. It's not. There's no mumbo jumbo. There's no.
Okay. Are all the examples in the key of C or is it various keys?
You know what? Let me pull. You want me to pull the book out right now? I'm not sure.
No, you don't have to if that's
I
what you want
believe that
to.
everything is transposed. I believe that everything is transposed. But
Okay.
I mean, I could find it. It's
Because it
on.
doesn't matter because once you get a concept in the key of C, you can move to the 12 keys once you really understand what it is intervallically.
You're correct, and that's the best way to go about things. However, depending on the musician's level and at what level they are when they're getting into it, sometimes they need a little assistance. Plus, it takes up more pages, so you have to pay more.
Okay. Cool. So is there anything else you want to talk about before we split, man?
I'm just trying to figure out why Joe hasn't made a peep.
I don't know. I was just following you guys. I didn't want to interrupt, and Clyde was taking the reins of asking about the show, which was what I was going to get into, and I was going to say the audio was I don't was there any crackling with Clyde's audio with you? Did you hear it?
I had some crackling as well, but I wasn't sure if it was detrimental to the overall thing.
Yeah, I'll have to kind of play that. But you guys did. This was very unique. I've never been in a I went to the Kansas City Jazz Orchestra had a show a little while back, and I went to a rehearsal, and Bobby Watson and Deborah Brown were there, and it was
Yeah, I know
fascinating.
him. Yeah.
Because I'm not a musician. So when you guys start talking shop, man, you guys are singing to the choir. I love this. So I was just going off. This was probably one of the most unique things. So that's why you guys were actually practitioners of improv interview, and I just kind of got to see you guys talk about it. So before the time and the buzzer runs out here, because we're getting low, just give me the inverted pyramid, the goods of it's on the 22nd. If anybody wants to see it, if they want to get involved with any projects, your latest album, how do they do that?
Well, I have three relatively new releases. They're on the Cellar Live label.
Yeah.
But I have a very extensive discography. If anybody Googles me, they'll see all of the stuff. The most recent things, the first one is entitled Timing is Everything.
Mm.
And the last three, no, my goodness, there are more. There's one called The Heavy Hitters. That's a sextet that I co-founded with Jeremy Pelt, Kenny Washington, Mike Ladon, Vincent Herring, and Peter Washington. We have a release. There's also a live Heavy Hitters release. Mike Ladon and I did a duo record that's called Together. And is there another? Well, there's another one coming out pretty soon. I would just suggest for people to just, Google me and you'll see all the latest releases. And,
anytime
And I would like to say also, I want to say something also.
Yeah.
Anyone who is not in New York City who would like to see the performance of the Eric Alexander Quartet at Flushing Town Hall in Queens, you can go online and see it. Just Google Flushing Town Hall. All concerts are available online. Okay?
Right on. Perfect.
Joe, before we hang up,
yeah,
considering we just went through an election cycle, I wanted to give a lot of praise and promotion and support to jazz music as an art form and as a metaphor or a template for how people should behave, especially right now.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that.
Okay, so in jazz music, we have a topic and we're all interacting on the topic. If somebody has a good idea, it is received and it is bounced back and it is not crushed. It is not the victim of an ad hominem attack. It is listened to and responded to appropriately. Or another analogy would be, if I want to hit a tennis ball off a wall to practice, and every time the ball hits the wall just shits on the ball and it falls to the ground. This is how most people are interacting these days. They don't want to hear what I have to say because they assume something about me or they have an agenda. And jazz music is a perfect, and it's so emblematic of a truly democratic and inclusive, and yet also celebrating the differences, but not divisive. There's